Gusini go ngalago yugalaka go Sirindetin Ministry not never gonna wait Abubakar Hassan Komoa in Ngoli, collect money in Boyset, a Boyset up on a rate Abrora. Oxaking get missing sector and Babur by Sax the Kondas Tertera. Nitan go to Keen and Nebagi Gergele, Kanyam Numak to Tikiba and Aptai Ede Meta. Kungololi Ine and Summit Nebo African Investment Conference. Again, Gana set Nebo on Nairobi. Go orat Nuegalaka go Wendigo Kochilak, pick up Imoni, Chilibani Isuru. Ang not na money asagabita kisuldain privatization and serikali segab imoni aga company sika chebota ne ba Kenya Pipeline Company aktetuti kibagelda shares chitindo igambuni ne ba Safaricom tes kama gole tes tai go gen gigimiti imoni tilyandi tkabota imot ne kiya mungaret engibagenge chebota komesa asagabit kisuldain mungaret komain kaimot aga chokola
East African region, we are strengthening the integration at the East African region, but also we are strengthening at the COMESA region. We are also strengthening it at a tripartite free trade area, where we have COMESA, we have EAC, and we have the other one in the West, so that we can combine them to become a common market for whoever produces in Kenya. But most importantly, the President is championing the operationalization of the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, so that we can have a market of 1.4 billion people with a 3.4 trillion GDP. For the last 2.5 years, or 3 years, we've come up with the Finance Act of 2023, Business Laws Amendment Act of 2024. We have come up with the Tax Laws Amendment Act of 2024. Now we are coming up with another Business Laws Amendment Bill of 2025. But some private sector, they are still saying, oh, you're not doing the right thing. And others have said you're doing the right thing. So we are saying, how can this private sector be put together, right? They have a unified, strong voice, so that they can effectively advocate for the policy that will enable and facilitate them to do business. We are moving away from public investment, where the return is a social return, to private investment, where the return is an economic return. So an economic return, it has to be risk adjusted. So as government, we are doing our level best to meet the demand of an investor, because our philosophy, we are investor centric. A private investor wants return managed by risk. So as government, we are doing our level best to be a risk minimizer, so that we can maximize the return for the private sector to able to capitalize on our opportunities that exist. So we have put a program for incentivizing investors. We are de-risking investors and also facilitating investment to set up in Kenya with.
In Kasaratan ko Francis Nyasomba neba CFA Society East Africa ko muagole bagat kinet pick up emoni ko manutit neba itunda nemye olegyo invoice agega napta pandaptai.
We have adequate capital in Africa. The issue is being able to mobilize it. And to mobilize that capital requires us to start paying attention not only to the numbers. So for example, we've mentioned the fact that there's more than $700 billion of pension funding across Africa. So we need to start seeing this funding going into investments, infrastructure, projects, investment into businesses, and not just currently seated mostly in financial assets. So some of the data says almost 80% of that funding is actually seated in financial assets, including government bonds and all that. So this conversation is trying to make sure that that starts going into these other projects that are actually long-term and have also good returns. So we need to be able to look at how do we de-risk most of these projects. So it's not only risk, but also liquidity. How do we make sure that these projects, when they're invested in, they have adequate liquidity that will make the pension funds happy to also look at them. So because the pension funds at the end of the day, they have responsibilities to their pensioners. They need to be able to pay out these liabilities when they come due. So these opportunities have to make a return. They have to make economic sense, economic and commercial sense. And of course, you have to de-risk them in such ways that the pension investors will feel that the return is commensurate to the risk.